Name? I breathed out slowly. Marcus McKenna. The man typed, asking for the spelling, then confirmed it back to me. Is this correct? I looked at my name, yes, sir. He nodded, but wasn't really looking at me. I didn't particularly blame him, given how much of my class had gone before me. We'd been getting processed through one at a time for hours by alphabetical order, so by the time you get to the M's, you're going to be pretty sick of this routine. I was looking around the office at things when he asked the question and missed it. I'm sorry, what was the question? He sighed. Age? 14. I'm a freshman at Roosevelt High School. He entered the information. Gender? Male? This kept going. He got my address, checked the paperwork for my parents, all the things you'd expect of government types. I got asked about siblings, to which I told him I have 2 sisters. And then we started getting into side points. Dad works in marketing. My mom was a middle school teacher until Mackenzie was born, and decided she wanted to stay home to raise us. I was in a karate class I'd been in for several years. I was in Scouts as a Star Scout and a member of the Order of the Arrow. Karate was a bit of an overstatement, since really I was in the class, but mostly I was just my sister Mackenzie's sparring partner. She was the one who had the line of trophies at home. Not that I minded, really, but it felt like I was sort of lying, and I wanted to correct myself. But I felt like he deeply wanted to be done with this, so I let it go. Finally, he produced a tablet, but not like the one he was entering my information on. This one was ancient-looking, with runes etched around the edges that I couldn't recognize. And in the center, the outline of a hand. Please place your hand on the tablet. I was a little nervous about it, but best to get this over with. The whole thing was just a thing to be gotten through. Less than 0.1% of the population of the entire world awakened with superpowers, with the news putting the total number of empowered individuals at around 800,000 around the globe. The past decade had seen an explosion of the empowered, ranging across all walks of life, and with a variety of different superpowers and even magic, such as the magic in the tablet in front of me. While there seemed to be few true rules of who got what or if they got superpowers, a pattern had emerged, and that powers would manifest at around 14 to 16 years of age. So the oldest supers by now were already in their mid-20s. Of course, the first thing the governments of the world did was have a very prompt freak-out about it, then realized they could pass laws and regulate the hell out of it, and calmed right back down when they felt the comfort of having a whole new chain of bureaucracy to establish. First, registering everyone and testing to find those that had the spark in them. Then, creation of the tiers, rated from the lowest, E tier, to S tier, the highest classification. There were exactly 3 S tiers in the entire world, and they were living forces of nature, beholden to very little, aside from one another. I don't know, that always felt really lonely to me. I felt a small shock as I pressed my hand to the tablet, and for the first time, the government guy reacted, Holy shit, it would seem you have a power. I felt a sudden surge of panic at the news. I didn't want powers, I'm not a hero, what the fuck? The man across from me explained a bunch of things to me, and made a quick call, but I can't even remember any of it, until he directed me to a door at the back of his office, and ushered me through, where a woman was waiting for me. Hi, Marcus? I'm Anna. I'm a licensed psychic with the Hero Association of America, and I'll be with you through the rest of this process. Before we handle the next part, though, it feels like you might like something to eat. I got taken to a cafeteria, but not the same one as the one on our tour. I looked around for anyone I knew, but none of my classmates were here. Seriously? No one but me? Oh, God. Even without telepathy, Anna could see the panic in me. Marcus, it's going to okay, I promise. Part of why I'm here is because I went through this too. I know how scary this can be, and I'll be right here. Now, let's get you some lunch, and we can just talk, or not. Whatever works best for you. I felt calmer, and I had so many questions, but I just couldn't speak. Eating, however, I could do. Anna moved through the cafeteria line, handed me a tray to hold, and seemed to be hitting a perfect run of selecting what looked best to me to put on my tray, even getting me a yoo-hoo to drink. I had pizza, chicken nuggets, a Danish, and my yoo-hoo. Tucking in, I felt better almost immediately, and finally had the nerve to speak. I'm sorry. She laughed. What could you possibly have to be sorry about? I freaked out, and you're a psychic, so I guess you had to feel that? I stammered through it. Anna smiled warmly and laid a hand on mine. Kid, I hear every thought and feeling of everyone, all the time. And you being afraid is absolutely the most normal thing in the world. And in my experience, it speaks very well of you that it worries you, that you won't take this for granted or let it go to your head. Trust me, you're doing great, and there's nothing to apologize for. True to her word, Anna was with me the whole time. After having some lunch, I was feeling a bit better, though still anxious. So I did what I'd learned in karate. I focused on my breathing. Head clear, this was just a process, a thing of steps and stages. Anna explained that very little of my life would change in the here and now, that I would be fully evaluated, and that depending on my tier, I would be assigned an appropriate mentor. The evaluation were exhaustive: a full body scan, blood work, eye exam, hearing exam, and finally, I was led into a room with a man who introduced himself as Adam. Hi there, do you prefer Mark or Marcus? Marcus, please. Well then, Marcus, I'm Adam, and my powers are specific to evaluate the specific powers of people like yourself and their tier ranking. Your abilities are still latent, they haven't awakened, and as part of my kit of powers, I will be awakening them for you. It won't be painful or anything. It's just going to feel a bit odd as I examine the power and release it. Anna will be right here for you. And once we have your powers in tier, we'll go over the next step. Take a moment and just steady yourself. Would you like to sit or would you prefer to stand for this? I'd been sitting all day and chose to stand and took a moment of breathing. When I nodded, I was ready. Adam had me hold my hands out, palms up, then laid his hands on mine. I felt, funky, as I felt an energy move up my arms, until it spread throughout my body. This grew for several seconds, until I felt something akin to something tearing, and the energy removed itself back into Adam. He took a second for himself, obviously tiring from the exercise, before speaking. All right, Marcus, I'm afraid it's a good news, bad news situation. The good news is that your powers are awakened, and you don't seem to be suffering any ill effects, so you're still in good health. The bad news: you're literally the least powerful super I've encountered, not even E tier. Your power is 1% incremental improvement, and I'm genuinely not sure what the use in it would be. I let out a breath I hadn't even realized I'd been holding. I was relieved, really. The power was totally useless. I wouldn't be shooting I-beams. I didn't have to be a hero, and I could just go back to my life. Thank God. Adam tilted his head in confusion, while Anna came up next to me. Well, I'm glad you feel good about this, but we still have some things to go over, and then we'll have a card take you home with some literature. I'll be working with you during your adjustment period, so I'll give you some contact information for me, and you are free to call on me whenever you need to. They did send me home with some pamphlets and such, but I pretty much just handed those off to my parents, along with the badge with my picture on it that I received before leaving, and went straight to my room. It had been a long, tiring day, and it was fully night by the time I got in. With the school year just around the corner, I had about 2 weeks left of summer vacation, and I wanted to use it to do as little as possible. I would still have my regular karate classes, but aside from that, my schedule was wide open until Mom's Labor Day weekend new clothes extravaganza. It seemed, however, that there was no immediate reprieve coming, since I got woken up first thing by Daryl calling me, "Seriously, man, 8 a.m. on a Saturday? Yo, you didn't come back with us? You got powers?" Daryl was one of the rare people left in the world that was a comic book fan. The comics industry had pretty much imploded when superpowers became a reality. Because who's going to read comic books about fictional superheroes when the real thing is right there? Daryl would, man, it's not worth it. I got a power, and it's the crap one. I have the power to get slightly better at stuff. That's it. But hey, I'm the first F-tier superhero in existence. Woo. Can I go back to sleep now? Daryl was clearly still wanting to talk about this. Nah, I'll buy Mickey D's. You up for it? My stomach reacted to the news like an ancient monster's rising from the depths. Egg McMuffins sounded really good right now, and some sausage burritos, and a sweet tea. I had some money from yesterday to pay for food that I never ended up spending. So I swung out of bed, threw on basic clothes, and got ready to head out. Yeah, definitely time for new clothes. My shirt and jeans felt a little tight, and I had to adjust the band on my cadet cap. Well, time for that later when Mom goes nuts for shopping. Invariably, Daryl and I kept ending up at this particular McDonald's. At least for breakfast, it was cheap enough for us to eat, and $1 unlimited refill drinks was a pretty good deal, all figured. Daryl was already there, coming from the other side, and he was practically vibrating with excitement. God, this was going to be hard on him to hear. He got ready to jump right in, but I cut it off. We're not talking about this till I have food and caffeine in me. Daryl was a little bit dejected, but the promise was still there. We got in and ordered, Daryl got the breakfast platter, and he bought me my regular order: sausage, egg, and cheese McMuffin, and a large sweet tea. Then I added in 2 more McMuffins and 3 sausage burritos. It was weird. It still didn't feel like enough food. Food came out quickly enough, and we went around the corner from the registers to our usual seats, over by the restrooms, away from everyone. I laid into my food and didn't realize something was up until Daryl was paused, staring at me. Damn, dude, when's the last time you ate? I looked down. Daryl had somewhat started his breakfast, and I'd polished off 2 of my McMuffins and both of my burritos, and I would need to refill my tea. Wow, yeah, cafeteria yesterday for lunch. That explains that, he replied, shrugging and getting back to eating while I went over and refilled my tea. Then I stopped back at the counter and dropped the rest of my lunch money on a couple more sandwiches and a large mocha frappuccino. Damn, I was hungry. We kept eating until Daryl decided he'd let me get enough in me. Okay, so what was it like? I swallowed my bite of McMuffin and considered a moment. I mean, when the tablet glowed, the guy doing the exam nearly swore, but honestly, it ended up being nothing. Met a couple of other supers who were doing the evaluation. Anna's a psychic. She was just there like Mrs. Brown in the guidance office. And Adam, he was the guy who awakened my powers and told me what they were. Mostly, it kept ratcheting between really scary and totally boring. His enthusiasm for the moment didn't weaken even a little. Yeah, but you said you were the first ever F tier. How'd that happen? Don't get wrong, Daryl is my best friend. We'd been together as long as either of us had memory, and aside from some arguments and fights here or there, we'd always been best friends, but his constant upbeat excitement we'll call it spiritually taxing. If someone ever figures out how to harness his energy, I swear we'd be off fossil fuels in under a year. Well, that's basically what happens when you get the worst superpower ever discovered. I get slightly better at things, that's it. No super flight speed, nothing. I just get better at stuff. He didn't specify what, though. Daryl sat back and looked sort off into the middle distance for a moment. Yeah, but what was the power actually called? God, I want off this ride. 1% incremental improvement. I get slightly better at stuff. He considered for a moment. We need to go bowling. Daryl's dad ran a local bowling alley. Nothing too fancy, but because his dad owned it, we could bowl for free. The only downside is I suck at it. The best I've ever bowled is a 33, but fine, whatever gets us out of this conversation. At least they have chili dogs and never-ending root beer. Why am I still hungry? We went to the alley, and I let my mom know on the way where we were. We got our spot down at the end and started bowling. Daryl demolished me in the first game, hitting a 130, while I did get a personal best of 37. Ooh, look at the unrestrained power of a super. Daryl wasn't ready to be done, so we kept going, and Daryl kept taking notes. Game 1, 37, 130 Daryl. Game 2, 42, 127 and Daryl. Game 3, 48, 122. Daryl. Look, Daryl, I'm glad you're happy, but I don't want to spend the whole day in a bowling alley. He looked like he was about to explode with energy. No, dude, you don't get it. You've bowled your best game ever. Every time. Look. He'd scored every game on paper and showed me, He hadn't marked his own scores, just mine, and with it laid out on paper, it was easier to see it. Yeah, I still sucked, but I was more on target every time. Daryl's grin threatened to swallow his whole head. Don't you see it, man? I mean, it was neat and certainly better than I'd ever done, but I don't feel like it merited this degree of energy into it. Daryl was getting frustrated now and took out more paper. Look, okay, let's say you have $1, right? Now, let's say that every second, the dollar gets 1% more valuable. How much money would you have in just one day? I did the math on my phone, $864. I mean, it's neat. Daryl slapped hands down on the table we were scoring at. Wrong, you're doing the math wrong. Look. He started drawing out the equation. $1 became $1.01, then $1.0201. And Daryl explained as he continued the equation, every second, the number gaining the 1% increase is slightly higher than the last time. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes an hour, and 24 hours in a day. That's 86,400 increases in a single day. Keep bowling. I'll score it. I need food. Chili dogs achieved, I went back to bowling. Daryl took notes and started a recording on his phone while I just kept rolling a ball down a lane. At first, I really didn't have much faith in this, but he was right. My scores kept improving, and improving by slightly more each game. By the 10th game, I was easily beating Daryl's best scores. I wasn't getting better each game. I was getting better every time I picked up and rolled the ball. It didn't faze Daryl in the slightest, and he only seemed happier as it went on. But something felt off. Hey, Daryl, the ball feels weird. It's too light? Yes, I was right. He exploded out of his seat and rushed over. I didn't even know if it'd be a thing, and it is. Quick, put the ball in your other hand. I switched hands and felt the regular weight come back, while Daryl started grabbing my shoulders and squeezing. Dude, not doing a massage right now. No, I'm checking your shoulders. Feel it, your right shoulder feels tougher and thicker. I set the ball down in the return, and sure enough, he was right. Looking, there was a slight difference between my left and right arms. Things had shifted, and I felt a slight alarm. But Daryl could not be stopped. Switch hands, bowl with your left until it feels the same as it did with your right. Okay, I started bowling again, following the directions. And it was like a soft reset. I sucked again, but again, it started going up. With every roll of the ball, I was getting better. When I caught up to my right, I started switching arms between bowls. And by the time we left, I did the impossible. I hit a perfect 300, once with my right and once with my left. In the matter of half a day, I had gone from sucking to perfect scoring back-to-back while switching hands. I thought I would be absolutely exhausted, but mostly I was just starving, and grabbed a Lane pizza before we headed out. Once we were outside, Daryl checked my shoulders again. Yep, just like I thought. I was a bit tired, but the pizza smelled too good to wait, so I grabbed a slice. An explanation would be great, man. Okay, so this is really just a hypothesis right now, but I'm pretty sure they screwed up your eval. It's not just the bowling, though. That was insane to watch. Your shoulders and arms improved while you were bowling. It wasn't just a matter of you bowling better with each throw. Your body incrementally improved with every roll of the ball. That's why the ball got lighter, it didn't. But it didn't feel like as much weight, because the muscles in your arms got 1% better every time you picked the ball up and moved with it. Your form got better too. I got that on video. And that is why you're eating so much. I shook my head and swallowed. What the hell does that have to do with my eating? He was all teeth with the smile again. Because man, you needed all that protein. Because your body was literally improving in real time. Like, you remember that thing, that one Thor guy who was on Game of Thrones? Peter Dinklage talked about how the dude ate 6 whole chickens at dinner the one night. That's because he's a serious weightlifter. And he needs the calories and protein for muscle maintenance and growth. That's you, dude. So far today, you've eaten 5 McMuffins, 4 large teas, 2 sausage burritos with salsa, a large frap, 4 chili dogs, a soft pretzel with cheese, mod sticks, about a gallon of root beer. You ate the ice that came with it, and you're going to finish off that pepperoni pizza before you get home. I made excuses and said my goodbyes to Daryl, who did take it in stride, calling it my brood on a rooftop time, and citing that tons of heroes did it in comics. I kind of understood why now, even though it had seemed silly before. Oddly enough, I went by the high school and took a seat on the bleachers by the football field. No one would look for me here, which is what I wanted. It was all too much. Jesus. Just over a day ago, I just wanted to cruise through the last bit of my summer vacation, maybe do some huge Minecraft project. Now my body was changing so fast you could see differences. I had all these expectations, I needed everything to just quiet down. I don't know what to do, and I'm terrified, and even the act of eating is now somehow locked to all of this. It's my whole life, and I don't want it. My mom is awesome. So Dad was proud as hell of me. My son the superhero and all that. But Mom could tell I wasn't feeling great. So she excused me from going to church with the family. And hey, a full box of donuts from Donut World and some yerba mates to drink. She got it. I needed time. And despite some grousing from Mackenzie and Merida, there was a definite theme to our parents naming us. I got the house to myself for a few hours, which I promptly decided to use the best possible use of my time, playing Minecraft. Outside of the speedrunning manhunt community, you can't really get better at Minecraft past a certain point, and that was a point I'd long since passed. The normalcy of it was amazing, and I made a mental note to look into other stuff that wasn't really a get-better activity. I think people deeply underestimate the importance of doing nothing. It's all well and good to have ambitions and stuff, but honestly, sometimes it's just nice to have nothing going on. After Minecraft, I decided to watch some wrestling and anime. It was as I was binging Food Wars, eating some instant ramen. A thought popped into my head. I make better ramen. For those who make ramen in Japan, it was a years-long study to make solid, proper ramen in the traditional sense. But with my abilities, couldn't I learn to make it a bit faster? The house phone rang, and checking the number, it was Mom. I picked up, "Hey, Ma, how are you doing, sweetie?" The slight concern was easy to hear. Wait, social cues are a thing? Do I get better at social cues? I'm feeling better. Sorry I haven't talked much. I just needed a minute. She paused a moment. I know, and I want to talk to you about that face to face. But Merida managed to guilt your dad into us going to Dave and Buster's. Are you up for it, or do you want to sit this out? I just want what's best for you. We shook on it, and I got started. I definitely improved, and the skill sets did dovetail nicely. I needed a score of 550 to jackpot out. I got 340 my first game, then 450 on the second, and on the fifth game, I hit it. 1,000 tickets. Okay, let's go again. Jackpot, jackpot, jackpot. Each time the score needed for jackpot raised, until finally, I would need a perfect score every time to hit it. Merida's jaw was on the floor. Okay, Bit, we're gonna shoot hoops now, okay? Mom came and got me. The rest going ahead, and we hit up Fred Meyer's so I could replace my outfits. This would end up freeing me up from doing the trip with my sisters, so hey, big upswing. Now armed with a new wardrobe, we went to D&B, where everyone else had ordered. I pretty much got the same thing every time, so Dad had just ordered my regular stuff, which was coming out as I sat down. I wolfed down the whole plate, and power card in hand, went into the game room, barely talking to anyone. The little wheedler knew something was up and followed along with me. Okay, so 1%, following the previous example of bowling, there was a way to break this place open like a piggy bank. Before anything, though, I went around the room, doing some math. It seems silly, but going after the games with the largest jackpot payout isn't necessarily your best bet in this situation. A high payout game might be mostly about luck, RNG, and that won't let me exploit my ability. Claw machines? Nah, there. I'm at the mercy of the claw itself, so that doesn't work. Deal or no deal? Some deductive reasoning, but mostly at the mercy of luck still. Skee ball. It's almost pure skill, and it uses the same essential muscle groups as bowling. All the balls weigh exactly the same. I'd already been decent at it, so why not? Merida knew I was up to something, so she was definitely not going away anytime soon, so fine, let's enlist her in it. Okay, Bit, you know I got powers, right? She nodded, and I saw a slight glint in her eyes. Uh-huh. Okay, so I need you to keep quiet about what I'm doing, and if I need to, I might need your card. If this works like I think it will, I'll get you something nice at the prize store. Deal? We shook on it, and I got started. I definitely improved, and the skill sets did dovetail nicely. I needed a score of 550 to jackpot out. I got 340 my first game, then 450 on the second, and on the fifth game, I hit it. 1,000 tickets. Okay, let's go again. Jackpot, jackpot, jackpot. Each time the score needed for jackpot raised, until finally, I would need perfect score every time to hit it. Merida's jaw was on the floor. Okay, Bit, we're gonna shoot hoops now, okay? She nodded frantically, and off we went to shoot hoops. This I didn't do as well at initially. Sure, it's a ball going in a direction, but it's a different game using throwing instead of rolling. Long term, though, it just didn't matter. Within a few rounds, I was hitting jackpot again, and kept it going until I hit the same point. I kept moving between games, dumping out of them as I approached maximum scores. Sure, people were going to hate me for the rest of the day, since the scores needed for jackpot generally increased every time someone hit it. But hey, no complaints from my end, and besides which, it would reset tomorrow anyway. I still couldn't win any of the real big-ticket items, but damn, had I raked it in. It was nuts. I got Merida her agreed-upon item, and she left with her stuffed unicorn the size of me. When we got back to the table as dessert arrived, Merida was super proud. Look what Mark won me. She's the only one who gets away with calling me Mark. I sat and had some ice cream and a root beer float, with Mackenzie giving me a look. Geez, it's not like the food's gonna run away. I had to work on a better solution for eating. Larabars could work. They tasted good enough. And they were quick calories. The issue was I'd need a metric ton of them to keep from inhaling a small banquet every time I stopped to eat. I should probably talk to Anna about that. I took my phone off of Do Not Disturb, and it exploded with notifications, mostly messages from Daryl. Those I just dismissed, but apparently I had some stuff from the HFY. Reading it, they'd gone over my blood work and didn't have an issue. And apparently they did provide help for unique challenges. associated with my new powers. The specific example they listed was that speedsters tended to burn up tons of calories, and programs were offered to help with the caloric impact. After we finished up and got home, I sat down and set up a board on Jira and Miro. These were apps that game and software developers use to arrange projects. Jira for setting goals and making backlogs, with Miro for a sort of digital whiteboard thing. I sent links to Daryl because I couldn't have him constantly texting me all day, and then got startled when Mom knocked on my door. "Can I come in?" "Yeah, me." She came in and closed the door softly behind her, taking a seat on my bed while I was sitting in my computer chair. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" I took a steadying breath. It's it's a lot, not gonna lie. She didn't make any particular move, just laying her hands in her lap. "Do you want to talk about it?" I looked at my hands. What would they look like in a year? A strange thought, but I was already changing. Want to? No, but I need to. It's so weird. Like, it's gonna sound stupid, but this power, it's so scuffed. Mom cocked her head. Scuffed? Sorry, OP, overpowered. Like, there are wildly better powers out there, but like, wait, I can show you. I grabbed a deck of my magic cards, put my hat upside down on the computer desk, and rolled my chair across the room. I started idly tossing cards, trying to get them into the hat, and at first I was missing, sometimes by a wide margin. But steadily, card after card sailed into the hat until every single card started going in. See, I've never tried that before in my life. I just saw it on that movie with Bill Murray you groan about when Dad watches it. I went bowling with Daryl yesterday, and by the time we finished, I could hit a perfect score on both hands. I got perfect scores on skee ball and pretty much every game I played today at Dave & Buster's. And this is all just since Friday. And look at my shoulder. I popped out of my shirt really quick and showed Mom my shoulders and arms. See, I didn't have muscle like this Friday. This is just from bowling Saturday. I even had to switch hands to even out because I got stronger so fast. Everything I keep doing, I get better, and I get better insanely quickly. It's like I'm on some sort of cheat code in a game. Mom looked me over, concern in her eyes. "Are you in any pain?" I shook my head and then thought about it. "No, I feel great." But I should be, shouldn't I? I mean, my shoulders should at least ache, like when I started with karate, but no, I'm fine. I mean, I'm hungry, but that seems to just be a new feature of this thing. Daryl says it's because of how rapidly my body is changing, so I guess that might ease off eventually. I need to talk to Anna. She's the psychic lady that they gave me to talk to about stuff. It's just, I'm scared. I mean, where does this stop? Does it stop? All the superpowers I've ever heard of are pretty much set. Or it's like magic, where you need years of study and experience to get better at it. I'm not even trying that hard. Mom crossed and hugged me. I know it's scary and it's okay to feel all sorts of things about this. It's a huge change and it's normal to feel conflicted about things. I hate crying. Showing vulnerability at school is a good way to lose your lunch money. Yeah, I took karate, but class isn't a real fight where I might hurt someone. I never wanted to hurt anyone, and that always left me on the losing side because I never even wanted to hurt the bullies. Here and now, though, I was in my mom's arms, and I let it all go. I slept that night, and when I woke, it was early. No one else was up yet, so I went downstairs and made myself breakfast. Food was going to be incredibly important to me now, and I made point to grab my mom's old copy of The Joy of Cooking and found an omelet recipe. We bought a lot of eggs in our house, so reading along, I start the work. According to the book, the key to a proper omelet look and feel was to cook the egg on low heat and to not disturb it much. Then there was the seasoning and whatever oddments I would use. Here I wanted to recreate a spinach and mushroom omelet. I could almost start to track as the improvement hit. I was starting to pay attention for it. Between reading and taking each stage, I could start to feel the hint of it. Feeling a bit on the cocky side, I decided to make some hollandaise sauce, like at IHOP. The first couple of tries, it separated, but steadily I got it. It wasn't the best, and the whole thing looked slapped together, but it was an essential proof of concept. I was advancing at absolutely anything I decided to do. The world was now a skill issue, and I could learn any skill I wanted. I was finishing up and starting to clean up my mess when Mom came in, probably to get started on breakfast. "Hey, Ma, sorry about the mess. I'm cleaning it." She seemed like she wanted to say something, but instead she took a seat, smiling. "Very well, then. If it isn't too much trouble, I'd like some breakfast, please." I nodded. "All right, then. Let's make some omelets."